The summer of 2024 was the summer of my life. Seriously. And I knew it. I'd wake up every morning and I would say to myself, this is the summer of my life. And it's because I was so creatively alive. I was writing songs. I was doing music productions. I was going for walks that were like composition in motion, melodies and lyrics and song structures just pouring into my mind. I was taking myself on these weekly summits, 2-hour dates with my journal, where I was visioning and revisioning my life. Also, not for nothing, I was building a methodology, an assessment, a framework for helping other people access creativity in their lives. And then I woke up to my home on fire, like actually. Like I woke up pre-dawn to this feeling that something wasn't quite right. And I kept telling myself, go back to sleep, go back to sleep. Finally, I stood up, I looked out the window and it was glowing orange. I thought something isn't right here. I went to grab my keys and flames came toward me and I escaped out the door. And I stood for 3 hours outside watching firefighters on their laddered trucks try to put out this massive inferno. I didn't know where I was going to sleep that night. I didn't know how I was going to get my work done for the week. But more than anything, the question on my mind that morning was, can this still be the summer of my life? I'm actually so proud of myself for how I handled that time. I decided to set my mind toward curiosity, toward possibility. I vowed to myself that day that I would treat this experience like I was an artist, like I was a human who got to experience a new flavor of being alive in this world. But as the weeks went by, I couldn't help but notice I wasn't creating anymore. It was like all of that creativity that had been just flowing into me was suddenly nowhere to be found. I felt creatively blocked. But I don't believe in creative block. Obviously, the world believes in creative block, right? We hear it all the time. People are saying, oh, I want to write, but I'm blocked. Or, oh, I used to be creative, but now I'm blocked. But for me, I consider that to be an illusion, a boogeyman, a justification for not creating. My whole foundation of my understanding of my creativity, not to mention the foundation of my creativity methodology, is that there's no such thing as creative block. I believe that all of us have the apparatus to create. I believe creativity is our natural state. I believe if we aren't creating, it's only because we are under-resourced in one of the 5 essential resources for creativity. In my years of coaching, what I discovered those to be are inspiration, courage, discipline, rest, and connection. Okay? Inspiration, courage, discipline, rest, and connection. I believe as long as you have those 5 resources, then you will naturally, uninhibitedly create. But I felt blocked. I felt like this channel that had been open was closed. And I've got to say, it wasn't a bad feeling. There was something sort of cozy about it. It was like, oh, okay, I'm just blocked. I wanted to sort of succumb to it, like, like a kind of hibernation, like a kind of well-deserved rest. It's like, okay, less will be expected of me. Like, okay, 80% of me can just go offline for a little while. But before I did that, I took myself to task. I said, all right, Rachel, before you just give in to this thing you don't even believe in, you've got to explore this. You've got to give yourself the Rachel treatment. You've got to treat yourself like you treat any one of your creativity clients. You've got to see if you could possibly resource yourself and bring your creativity back online. So I gave it a shot. I thought to myself, inspiration, courage, discipline, rest, connection. Where am I lacking right now? Inspiration, I still had plenty of ideas. A lot of them had to do with fire. Courage, I was being as brave as I'd ever been, figuring out this new post-fire life of mine. So no, it wasn't a courage issue. Discipline, I was working dawn till dusk. Discipline was on point. Connection, I gotta tell you, there's nothing like your house burning down to put you in touch with everyone you've ever known in your life. It was the most extroverted I'd ever been. Connection was flowing. So no, it wasn't those four. And then I thought, rest. That one's plausible. Am I tired? I was not physically tired. I was not emotionally tired. What I realized was that I was spiritually tired. I was tired from all of that resolve of every day waking up and saying, all right, how am I going to create this new post-fire life for myself? How am I going to create the resolve to face the light in the midst of this darkness? I was spiritually firing on all cylinders and becoming depleted. More than that, what I realized was that it wasn't entirely true that I wasn't creating. In fact, I realized I was creating more than I'd ever created in my entire life because I was creating that new vision for my life. I was creating that resolve. Ultimately, I was creating a new home for myself. I came to realize that I wasn't going to be able to write or record music. I wasn't going to be able to do these creative activities that I had known for so long until I had a couple paintings on my wall. It was like I needed a little bit of external cue so that my psyche could relax into rest. I let myself feel the crushing fatigue of it all. And then I decided, all right, I am going to tend to my need for rest. And I gave myself a full-bodied break. I picked up and I left town. I went to the southern coast of Jamaica to spend a week with some Jamaican friends of mine. I had a little room by the water that had a little writing desk. And once I was there, I just started writing again. It was like that channel opened back up. It was like the words came through me. In fact, I wrote more than I'd been writing before the fire. So, yes, I I proved my own methodology to be true. As soon as I was resourced, as soon as I repleted myself with rest, I got to creating all over again. So for me, rest was the missing resource for my creativity, but it could just have easily have been inspiration or courage or discipline or connection. In my 15 years as a creativity coach, I have seen dozens of examples of each. Artists with low inspiration telling me they're blocked. Artists with low courage telling me they're blocked. Artists with low discipline telling me they're blocked. Artists with low connection telling me they're blocked. And as soon as we get them filled up on the missing resource, they create again. There was never truly a block. One artist in particular comes to mind, a songwriter named Tom. He came to me with a long story about his creative block. He told me he'd been blocked since he was 15. He told me the origins, the manifestations, the implications. It was like this man's entire creative energy was going toward writing this incredible story of how creatively blocked he was. So I sat with Tom and I asked him to tell me about his creative process. I asked him what happens in the exact moment he gets a creative idea. I asked him what he expects of himself in a lyric. Finally, I realized I have to see this in real time. And so I asked him to right then and there create a little bit with me? Very simply, I asked him to speak about his song premise. And here's the thing, this man said nothing. I said, just tell me a couple sentences what you're thinking about your song. He said no words to me. I said, just say a couple phrases. He would not speak. I started throwing out terrible lyric ideas in the hopes that it would give him the confidence to one-up me. But there was not a bad enough lyric that I could say that would compel this man to speak. So I stepped back and I thought about this. I realized that there was a sort of safety for him in inaction. There was a sort of safety in silence. So I thought, okay, I need to get him more resourced in courage. So I did my best to give him a dose of courage. I told him what I considered to be his singular creative gifts. I asked him to inhabit a memory of a time when he'd felt vibrantly creative. And I asked him to imagine into his creative future and all the promise that it held. And then I asked him to, for 5 minutes, free write. I said, grab a pen and paper and right now, write anything you want. I said, you don't have to share this with anyone, not me. You don't have to reread it yourself. Wow, did he resist? He did not want to let words come out of him, but I insisted on this. He was so agitated. I'm telling you, he was so frustrated with me. I was quite sure I was about to get fired. But he did my bidding. He wrote for 5 minutes. And here's the thing, when he looked up, he was relieved. More than that, he was happy to have witnessed himself take an action. At this point in my life, as an artist and a creativity coach, I am more convinced than ever. Creativity is our natural state. If you feel yourself to be creatively blocked, you can know without a shadow of a doubt, you are not creatively blocked. If you feel yourself to be creatively blocked, you can know it means only that your creativity needs something from you. It could be inspiration. It could be courage. It could be discipline. It could be rest. It could be connection. It could be some combination of the five. But if you can identify where you are depleted, and if you can get yourself resourced in that area, then you will find yourself in that exalted state where you cannot help but create. So today, I want to help you figure out where you stand right now. Are you high or low in inspiration? Are you high or low in courage? What exactly is helping you create? And what exactly is holding you back from creating? In my musing methodology, I have an entire creativity assessment. It is 30 questions about your creative life, and you get your results in the form of a creative spark. There's a point for inspiration, courage, discipline, rest, and connection. So you can see instantly what your creativity needs from you. What I would love for all of you is to download Musi and to take this assessment so that you have your spark, so that you can see exactly what your creativity needs from you. And so that as you listen to this mini series, you'll know how the information applies exactly to you. Today, though, I'm going to take you through an abridged version of the assessment. I'm going to ask you 10 of the more important questions, and I'm going to ask you to assess yourselves. So go ahead, grab a pen and paper, and find a comfortable place to be for the next few minutes. As you've listened to each one of these questions, I want you to ask yourself, how true is it for you? Is it very true? Is it neutral? Is it not true at all? Make a note of that. Also notice if any thoughts or feelings come up for you in the context of these questions. If they do, make a note of them. Okay, here we go. Starting with the inspiration questions. I'm excited about what I'm creating. How true is that for you? Is it very true? Is it neutral? Is it not true at all? I'm excited about what I'm creating. Okay, next up for inspiration. I find inspiration for my creative work all around me in conversations, daydreams, memories, experiences, and the creative work of others. How true is that for you? Very true? Neutral? Not true at all. Again, I find inspiration for my creative work all around me in conversations, daydreams, memories, experiences, and the creative work of others. Okay, next up, the courage questions. Whether succeeding or failing, I am confident in my creative worth. Is that very true? Neutral? Not true at all. Whether succeeding or failing, I am confident in my creative work. And the second, I wish I had the courage to devote myself more to my creativity. Very true, neutral, not true at all. I wish I had the courage to devote myself more to my creativity. Next up, the discipline questions. I need the situation to be just right in order to create. Does that feel very true? Neutral? Not true at all. I need the situation to be just right in order to create. And number two, I get new creative ideas, but forget or lose interest before I get to work on them. Does that one feel true? Neutral? Not true at all. I get new creative ideas, but forget or lose interest before I get to work on them. Okay, next up we have some rest questions. My mind is so busy, there's no space for creative ideas. Is that true for you? Neutral? Not true. My mind is so busy, there's no space for creative ideas. And number two, if I'm not constantly productive, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Is that one true? Neutral? Not true. If I'm not constantly productive, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Finally, some connection questions. I wish I had more creative connections in my life. Is that one true for you? Are you neutral on it? Is that not at all true? I wish I had more creative connections in my life. Finally, I have role models for the kind of creative life I want to live. Do you have role models? Very true, neutral, not true at all. Again, I have role models for the kind of creative life I want to live. So now look back through these questions, look back through your answers. Was any one of these questions particularly evocative for you? Did any one of them send you on a train of thought that might be worth pursuing more? What I'd like you to do is pick one or maybe two of these questions and do a little free writing about it. What more does it bring up for you? What possibly could be there for you if you were to inquire more deeply about it? I am so excited for this final segment of the Spark Sessions. It is the Spark Reading, where every episode I take a look at one of your sparks and I give you some extra insight about what your creativity needs from you right now. For this first episode, I am reading Amy Lynn Durham's Spark. Amy Lynn Durham, all of you might know her. She created this media company that is the home of the Spark Sessions, as well as a number of other fine podcasts. So it's no surprise that her spark is very sparkly. She is wildly inspired, wildly courageous, wildly disciplined, wildly connected. She's a little less resourced than Rest, but even that's not terribly under-resourced. When you see a spark like this, you can just feel how creative the person is, right? You can just sense them. They're creating every day. But Rest is less resourced, so that's what I want to speak to. I especially want to speak to the relationship between high inspiration and slightly less high rest. So what is inspiration? Inspiration is the new ideas. It's new ideas flooding into your mind. What is rest? It's not just nothing. It's not just the absence of activity. It's not just downtime. Rest, more than anything, is about space. It's about clearing space. How is your mind? Is it cluttered or is it spacious? How is your heart? Is it cluttered? Is it spacious? If our minds are cluttered, if our hearts are cluttered, if there's this backlog of content inside us, there's no place for the new ideas to go. So, with someone like this, highly inspired, less rested, what we see is a lot of ideas, but there's a disorganization about it. Where do they go? Where do they land? Maybe they get forgotten. Maybe you get started on some of them, but they don't come to fruition. Or maybe you get started on some of them and they come to fruition, but not to the level that you want them to come to fruition, right? There's some sort of a disconnect. And what we see is if we turn the focus to rest, specifically to clearing out space, processing so that there's more space for the ideas to land, suddenly you get organized. Suddenly the ideas find a home in you and find a home in your work. Okay, so now it's your turn. If you would like your spark read here next month, you download the Musi app in the Apple App Store. You take the 30-question creativity assessment, then you will see your spark, download it right there in the app, and send it along to me. Include a little note, read my spark. It can be anonymous, or I can say your name a lot, whatever's comfortable for you. But I'm so excited to get to know you, my listeners, and see your sparkling sparks.
If this conversation resonated with you, or if someone came to mind while you were listening, share the episode with them. Help others who are looking for these types of conversations find us. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and review. Until next time, keep edgewalking, keep challenging the way things have always been done, and keep making magic at work.